This is a really important question, and I've been dying to tell you guys about this. In order to escape the food matrix, you have to educate yourself. You have to understand how and why they're doing this to us. As soon as we understand they are not protecting our health, the sooner we can focus on what to avoid. Obviously, your processed garbage, your fast food, all that shit is killing us, man. It's like a bait and switch. They tell us it's unhealthy, and then they turn around and they have the food all over in your face at every direction. And it may seem like it's not harming you much at the time. Our body is rapidly healing this damage that we do to it. The minute you cut out refined carbs and sugars is the minute you see the matrix. You'll see all these fake foods around you that you don't want to eat anymore. Anyways, the way that you truly get away from these toxic foods is understanding that food is a drug and we need to taper from it. We need to understand we can't just flip a switch and give up everything at once. And people can't go from 0 to 100. I myself took a while to get off the toxic foods. This shit is literally like the worst drug you could ever imagine, and everybody's doing it and nobody understands that it's a drug. You have to understand they're attacking our blood sugars with too many refined carbohydrates, way too many refined sugars, and a lot more garbage. Anyways, I completely cut refined carbs and sugars out of my diet. I did go to alternatives though. There is an amazing amount of healthy alternatives to sugar. I was discouraged at first. I thought there was no way that I could go to eating healthy. Once I learned the facts, I took baby steps and I found my own way to health. And all I want to do is teach you guys that this food is killing us. It's just going to take effort to get away from it. It will not be that easy. We really just need to learn that life isn't all about food and just eating all the time. If you like candy, switch it out for some organic berries or fruit. Just getting conscious of what you are eating is the first most important step. Dr. Sebi was a misunderstood mastermind. People have no idea the relevance in the things that he uncovered. Dr. Sebi did not support anything made by man that would go into the human body. Man has accomplished and invented some amazing things, but we never should have messed with our food or other sneaky ways they get these toxins in our bodies. Anyway, Sebi was all about explaining how these man-made mutated foods are not healthy for our human bodies. And people didn't like him because he was telling people the truth. I've practiced his methods myself, and so far they have been the most effective. So in regards to the papaya, Sebi would never have recommended a GMO product of any kind. He simply couldn't keep up with the toxic things that man keep doing to our foods. To put it simply, human beings have eradicated our wild food, and human beings were designed by nature to consume nature. This is one rabbit hole that may make you question your government. Here we have our mighty chitin. Under the definition, it doesn't seem too bad, just some polysaccharides and exoskeleton, like what these guys have. But don't worry, because chitin is usually made of this stuff. So here's how they grind these things up, add chemicals to it, and sneak it into our food. So here's another sneaky name for these ground up crab shells that they don't have to list as an ingredient in our foods. Also found in your hair, oral, and skincare products. Quick recap, they're grinding these into a powder, adding a sketchy chemical, hiding it in our food, and they don't even have to list it as an ingredient. Of course, it's another FDA approved additive. As to no real surprise, our human bodies cannot digest this stuff. They call it nature's plastic for a reason. When is this going to end? Why the hell does nobody know about this? Here we have what I consider to be the worst ingredient on the planet. Maltodextrin is a highly processed carbohydrate and hidden sugar, sourced from fake starchy vegetables, but is primarily made from, who would have guessed it, GMO corn. Maltodextrin spikes our blood sugars almost twice as much as sugar. We can go on all day about this fake ingredient. The way they add acid just to make this product alone should be enough to scare people. What's especially dangerous is they can add this ingredient to any food they want and they don't have to list it as an ingredient. North America produces 1 million metric tons of this a year and counting. This nasty ingredient gets to take on the name of all of these and more. Now that we know that this is just cornstarch, let's take a look at this video where they demonstrate what this does in our human body. This lady is actually addicted to cornstarch. Here they demonstrate how it solidifies in our body like clay. Here they demonstrate how they can actually walk across this stuff. Wanted to go over so much more, but I wanted to make one last point. If this highly processed, massively produced toxic ingredient derives from corn, then why isn't it listed as a food? If you're new to seeing this food matrix, this is one I would keep an eye out for. Peanuts are toxic and cause cancer, and I'm gonna explain why. There are several downsides to peanuts, including potential aflatoxin contamination. You know you got a toxic food when you're up on cancer's website. Aflatoxins are small stable molecules that cannot be destroyed by heat. However, we have the same website after that article was published saying that we can in fact roast this aflatoxin out of our peanuts. Which leads me to the question why they're referencing old studies saying you can remove this aflatoxin by cooking and posted it in 2020. But posted this article back in 2019 saying it cannot be destroyed by heat. Aflatoxin is one of the most potent known natural carcinogens. Here on that same site, aflatoxins bind to DNA and proteins resulting in genetic mutations which have genotoxic effects. They may damage DNA and may cause cancer. Here they say heat is relatively ineffective, but they use these other weird chemicals to try to remove this mold. This may not raise much concern because we have these standards, but we import these nasty nuts from all over the place. And there's a ton of articles on here saying you cannot heat this toxic mold out of these peanuts. Even on this Toxin Zone website, they're telling you can't destroy this stuff. Here's a scary thought. Aflatoxin is colorless, odorless, and invisible, and there is often no sign of contamination. It's also tasteless. And that's only one of the many toxic traits I found about this cancer nut. There's still a ton of toxins to expose about this fake nut, and I'm just getting started. Here we have your pink Himalayan salt rabbit hole. First, let's talk about how this pretty pink salt contains the most radioactive chemicals found on the face of the earth. Which is just so strange because the only thing I've ever heard about this is all these benefits this salt has. This rabbit hole only gets deeper.
Himalayan salt doesn't actually come from the Himalayas. It's mined 186 miles away in Pakistan. We went inside the mine, turning this mountain into 400,000 tons of pink salt each year. The Keoda salt mine, here in the Punjab region of Pakistan, is the second largest salt mine in the world. The pink salt comes from remnants of ancient seabeds that crystallized 600 million years ago.
सेफ्टी फ्यूज के जरिए हमने इसको इग्नाइट किया है और साल्ट की ब्लास्टिंग हो चुकी है। खबरदार आप सब सेट पे हो जाएं। खबरदार आप सब सेट पे हो जाएं।
Tractors haul the mine salt out of the mountain. They search for blocks with the best shape and coloring to send to manufacturers. Once picked, the blocks are loaded up on trucks either by hand or crane and sent across Pakistan, where demand has spiked in the last decade because of the alleged health benefits.
98% तो ये सोडियम क्लोराइड ही है, NaCl ही है, जो कि नॉर्मली सी सॉल्ट भी है, लेकिन इसके एडिशनली जो बेनिफिट्स हैं वो 84 मिनरल्स जो इसमें होते हैं, जैसे कि कैल्शियम है, मैग्नीशियम है, पोटेशियम है.
However, it's such a very small percentage of the salt that makes up these minerals that you are highly unlikely to get any real benefit or any trace of them in your regular serving of salt.
Okay, so we need to understand that these guys are trying to pitch us this stuff by saying that it's okay to have just a little bit of radiation in our salt. It's just really interesting to me how they keep finding the worst compounds on Earth and putting it in our food. If that doesn't scare you enough, let's take a look at the amount of lead that they put in this toxic pretty pink salt. Thanks to this blogger, Lead Safe Mommy exposes these companies and posts what their actual lead contents are, which are very inaccurate on their websites, of course. And she's warning us that this amount of lead in our salt is not safe. And if that still doesn't convince you, there's still hundreds of websites talking about how toxic this salt is. And many sites actually explain how this salt is worse than your typical toxic table salt. The government's biotech website, they explain how even just a little bit of this can cause organ damage. Here they explain how you'd have to eat 6 teaspoons of this salt in order to get any kind of a nutrient benefit, which would pretty much kill you at that point. Hey Google, how many pounds of pink Himalayan salt is mined each year? I think it's safe to say at this point we've been tricked once again with another healthy food we've been told is good for us. I mean, at this point, is it really a coincidence that we keep finding the worst possible compounds found on the face of the earth in all of our foods? And of course, there are healthy alternatives to this toxic salt that I will be going over in my next video.